Guys, we are here for the Powder Group Conversations with my friend Derrick Rutledge on iconic beauty. This is going to be a great conversation. As you guys know, the Powder Group Conversations programs are sponsored programs by 6 incredible brands that have supported us throughout the year in 2020 and 2021. They're here for us again as a community. So thank you to Omnia, to Scandinavia, to Cinema Secrets, to Senna Cosmetics, Muse Beauty Pro, and to Beekman 1802 for sponsoring the Powder Group Conversations. So thank you guys all for your support. And thank you to everybody who's joining us live. And for those of you who aren't joining us for the live broadcast, this is going to be also on our YouTube page and also on our podcast. So you can check it out in many ways starting tomorrow once Nikki gets that up. I want to say welcome to my friend Derrick. How are you doing?
I'm good, other than having a meltdown because of lighting.
Well, you look fantastic in this light.
Well, it's
so
not
let me
even
just tell
just
you.
because of me. It's just that I carry my lights with me, because in these situations where we're in hotels where there is very little light, I have to make sure that what the subject that I'm working with is well lit. And in a hotel, because especially if we're going to start like a lot of times I've got to start 2 and 3 in the morning when we have to do these early morning shoots and everything, or doing television, and I need lights. So I carry my lights with me. And of course, I think in the coming here from the East Coast to the West Coast, something must have happened to the lights, but they worked last night. They worked, but other than that, I'm fine. I found a lamp and it's sitting right here in front.
Well, so, a light is a light. No one knows what's in front of you, right? It's great. So that brings up a really good question. I want to jump right into this idea of iconic beauty, right? You're talking about tools. You're talking about your light. There's a lot of elements involved because there's a lot of pressure in some ways, right? When you're designing a makeup and you're applying a makeup to, some of the most noteworthy and beautiful women in the world, entertainment industry, from all these places, you've got Kenya Moore, Shaka Khan, you've worked on Oprah Winfrey, obviously. You've worked on Michelle Obama, Yolanda Adams. Oh my God. Like, these are women who have.
And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You got to remember.
You could go on and on. What are some of the ways?
30 years now, Michael.
How many years?
30.
But you're only 40. How can that be?
I started when I was in kindergarten.
Me too. It's amazing.
You know what, though? I'm going to stand in my truth, only because I deserve everything. Like Oprah was telling me, she said, Derrick, stand in your truth, because you have worked hard to get to where you are, and you need to be able to be an inspiration and an empire and a pioneer to help the next generation. But in a couple of weeks, I will turn 60. So there it is. I'm putting it out there. 60, yes.
All right, I'm just gonna shut. We're done. We're gonna shut down now because I can't handle that. Because that's amazing. Well, you look fantastic. So
thank you.
Whatever you're doing, send me a list. I'm gonna take care of that. Let's go back to this idea of iconic. And this idea of an iconic client. I think when I look at some of your work, all of your work, really, it reflects almost as classic beauty. Like, you can take some of these images that you've been working, you said 30 years. I was looking back at some of your older work and looking at some of your flashbacks and throwbacks on Instagram. The work you did 20 years ago and 15 years ago, you could have done that tomorrow. Like, what is it about iconic and classic beauty? How do you make those two meld?
Well, one thing about iconic beauty is that beauty changes throughout the decades. Like the 30s, you had one look. The 40s, you had another look. The 50s, you had the winged eye. You had the looks change every decade. But what you have to understand is that they also come back. And when they come back, you just have to do a little tweaking to upgrade the look when it comes back. And one thing that I can say is that I try to look at each client individually and say, okay, this, I don't look at the trend that's going on per se, that's going on during that period. I look at what looks best on them. I look at their face. Someone may have a droopy eye. I'd have to know what I need to do in order to fix that droopy eye. They may have small eyes, how do you make them larger? So I look at each person individually as to what I need to do to make them look their best. And then I take whatever the trend is that's going on during that particular period. And then I try to add a little bit of what's going on with that trend onto their face without making them, without overdoing them. Because a lot of times, a lot of the clients that I work with, they have to use these pictures for all, the pictures got to go in a magazine, they got to withstand the test of time. They want something that's going to be updated and new and fresh on them, but yet it's going to be um, fashionable in what's going on. And then what I do is I work with good, it's no, what is that they say is no I in team. I always work with a good team. I can't do this by myself. I try to go to the stylist I'm working with, the hairstylist I'm working with, and the photographer, because we all have to work together to make sure that whatever look that we're going for is going to work on that client, and then also something they're going to be comfortable with. So what I do is I will walk in, find the photographer, and usually a lot of times what they've done, they've already given us a sheet with everything that's going to be that they're looking forward to doing that day. And then what I do is find out, okay, well, what is the clothes? Once the fitting's been done and once we find out what the clothes are going to look like, then the magic comes with me and the hairstylist. I'll let the hairstylist do what they're going to do as far as setting the hair. Then I go in and do my magic. And, it's the brow. A good brow always uplifts the face. So I'm always going to go for a good brow. And then after that, then I'm going to do the eye. Now, when I do a shoot, I'm normally going from a soft, I always say, can we start soft and build up to a heavier look? The one time that could not work was when I can recall doing this photo shoot with Oprah, where they wanted 4 totally different magazine looks on her. And they wanted each one of them to be a cover, and each one, so there was no building up to the more dramatic look. Each look was totally different. And I recall when that issue came out, and Nancy O'Dell said, well, how were you able to pull this off? And she said, that was my longest shoots I've ever done, it was literally a 12-hour shoot. And she said, that guy over there, that guy, Derrick, I was tired, but I know I wore him out, because I had to literally strip down each face and start all over, and to make each look an iconic look on her. So to answer your question, when I'm working with the client, be it Michelle Obama, Oprah, Patti LaBelle, even when I was working with Beyonce, everybody has a certain look that depicts how their face looks. So I don't go by the trends. I go by what I think is going to look best on them. And what ends up happening is that those looks withstand the test of time. Because before I came here, I was purging. I was doing going through a lot of boxes and going through pictures and just going through my life and going, I have done a lot of people. I've done so many girl groups that are no longer together anymore. Brownstone, SWV. I found some pictures of me when I did Aaliyah. Mary Wilson, who passed, I found a picture where I did Mary Wilson. So I'm looking at all these people that I've done over the many years of my career, and they are actually pictures that you look at them, they could actually fit into what's going on now. So I don't follow the trends per se. I take a little bit from what the trends are doing, but make everyone look their best.
Derrick, I love what you said a minute ago, and I want to dig into it a little bit more. You said,
Uh-huh.
and I'm paraphrasing. You said, you're working with a face, right? And this
Right.
client, this celebrity, has a look that they are known for, and that they want to come across with that same look. So, would you say that the idea of iconic beauty starts with the iconic look of the client themselves, or do you kind of go into working with this idea of iconic beauty and say, well, I know that for this to be iconic and an energy, the skin must look like this, the eyes should look like this. Is it the technique and artistry and the design, or is it the client that dictates the iconic part?
I would say it's the everyone has a different everyone's face is different. So the when I'm working with someone, it's in essence good skin. When we talk about good skin, of course you got to start out with the foundation, which is getting the skin corrected. But when I'm doing a face, I do all my contouring, highlighting, everything with my foundation. So when you're looking at a face, I have stripes and colors and darks and lights all over the face. But once I do all my blending and everything, then it all comes together as far as the highlights. When I know that it's been a couple of times where a lot of times I would prevent my client from looking in the mirror, because when they look at themselves, they got stripes and stuff all over their face. But then when it's all blended, they understand. And those that have been with me a while, my regular clients, they understand that process. But I hope I'm answering your question, Michael, as far as you keep saying iconic beauty. I guess the essence starts with the foundation, which is getting the skin prepped and getting the foundation done, and then working from there. Then that's where the magic goes. And the skin comes first, the artistry comes second.
Okay. Okay. And so then when you're working on a client, again, I think Oprah is a great example, and it certainly isn't your only client, but it's why you're out West now. You're working with Oprah again this week, and that's incredible.
Right.
When you're approaching that work, you have hundreds maybe of images, hundreds of makeups you've done in the past with this client. How do you take this look for an actor, an actress that is iconic, a client that is iconic, a beauty ideology and a design that is iconic in its energy, but also what I love is you said you don't take the trends and make it trendy. So you're not going to go dewy skin on Oprah because everyone's wearing dewy or shiny skin and lots of highlight, because that doesn't suit the project. But you add in some elements. I remember looking and thinking, I saw this one image, and Oprah had this amazing blue eyeshadow. And I thought, well, that is beautiful. It still looks like Oprah. It still feels like Oprah's makeup. It's iconic, but you add something in. What is your recommendation to artists who want to create these beautiful, clean, wonderful looks, but then also have maybe clients who want to incorporate something a little trendier, a little more like 2021, but they know that they have to hold back a little bit? What is your tip for adding something interesting in while maintaining that level of iconic artistry?
Okay, I like that question, Michael, because I've gotten that from clients before. And what I try to explain to them is that not everything that they see is going to work on them. I like the idea you said, dewy skin. What keeps me working constantly is that my clients know that I'm going to give them a timeless, classic look. And I will incorporate a little bit of what's going on with the trend onto them, but they also realize I'm going to still make sure that they continue looking like them. There have been times where I've taken liberties and took and made a winged eye on Oprah, and I remember she said, that is not me. Everyone loved it. Oh my God, Derrick, we love that. We love the winged eye and the cat eye and everything. And she said, that's, for a photo shoot, I can get away with that. When she's doing television, it's another thing. So I try to figure out what the medium is. If it's a photo shoot, then I have more liberties to be creative. If it's for a movie project, for instance, when I did it for Wrinkle in Time, I have more liberties. When it comes to doing Super Soul Sundays, where she's got to be more, laid back and relatable, then that's another look. So, and same thing with the First Lady. When I was working with her, a magazine look can be different from when she's walking outside and greeting the people. When you're doing a glamour look, that can be something different. So what I do is I incorporate whatever the trend is on that person, depending on the medium that I'm working with. When it comes to a dewy look, I can incorporate a dewy look on someone without it making it look dewy by using, because what I do is I will find a shimmer powder, because I still want to do a good skin. I still need to set it. But then what I do is I take, and get some shimmer powder that has very, very small microcrystals in it, and dust the highlight spots, the cheeks, the nose, the forehead, the chin, and then spray it down and set it. And then when it dries, it looks just like they're dewy without the dewiness. Because when the lights hit it, then what's going to happen is that it's overdone. It'll be too much shine. But I like to take and give that look without overdoing it with the mica, that you're with the shimmer powders that people use. Same thing with like Yolanda Adams. I'm looking at pictures of her that she used from shoot. I haven't done her in a while. I did it for the inaugural when she sang at the Lincoln Memorial, but I had not done her for a while. And when I look at a lot of the pictures that she uses when she's promoting herself, there's still pictures that I shot with her almost 10 years ago. And I'm like, Yolanda, you're using these old pictures. She said, well, that's the last time I had a really, really good photo shoot that I did so many different looks, and the looks are iconic. Just like you said, the looks, can withstand the test of time, and they can continue to go back to them and use them over and over again.
I love that you said timeless and classic. You said
Right,
timeless and classic. And I think when we think about iconic, when you think of an icon, I mean, your clients are icons. I remember looking at this was a little while ago. You posted, I think it was on, maybe it was on her birthday a while back. It was Patti LaBelle, and it was these beautiful images
right.
that I looked at, and I thought the same thing. I thought she could literally have worn this makeup back 20 years ago. She could wear it today. How do you approach a client that you're working with for many years? Some of your
Hmm.
clients you've been working with what, 10, maybe 15, maybe more?
Well, Patti LaBelle, I worked with Patti LaBelle literally 20 years, Yolanda Adams 20 years, Shaka Khan, CC Winans. These are all people that I've been working with on a regular basis for 20 years. This last year made 10 years I've been with Oprah. For the first lady, I was with her for 2.5 years. Um, uh, I'm
Is
sorry, Michael. I went on
No,
a
no, it's fine.
tangent. What were you
Is
asking me?
there a way you approach, I mean, yes, timeless, yes, classic, yes, iconic. And this might sound like a silly question or almost a little sarcastic, but it's not intended to be. You're doing that same look over and over again, that same timeless classic look with little shifts and changes. How do you keep the client or you from getting bored with that look? Or do you bother? Is it necessary to try new things?
It's not necessary for them a lot of times. It's necessary for me. And the reason why I say it's necessary for me, what keeps me young and keeps me youthful, Michael, is the fact that I am so inspired by watching what this generation is, the ideas, the things that are constantly in their head. I get enamored. A fire burns within me that when I see young people come up with all these phenomenal ideas, when it comes to an eye or when it comes with the lip, like a lot of stuff that they're doing was stuff I was doing a long time ago. But then what happens is that you is looked down upon because it's something that um, that they say does is not, you know you're doing something that is you're doing something that you're pushing the envelope on doing something that you should not be doing, but yet you're trying to do, and you're trying to make it work on a client when it doesn't really work. But yet, I can take those looks that a lot of the young makeup artists that are coming out are doing, and I can incorporate it on them I just have to do it with a little bit of finesse and pizzazz without going overboard with it. The full lip that they're doing with the lining outside of the lip, that was something that I was doing back when I was doing, because I was working in Europe for like 2.5 months with this publisher named Rainer Lynn, that really gave me my big start, and doing a lot of Caucasian models. And so to make the lips look larger, I did all of that. And they told me back then that, you don't do that. You don't line over top of the lip. You don't do this. And I was just trying to explain to them it's the aesthetics. In order to make the lips look fuller, you have to outline outside the lips. And so now that whole trend is really gotten really big with lining outside the lips. Um, uh, uh, Thicker, fuller, darker brows are in. I was doing that, but then they told me to soften them. So, like I said, a lot of stuff comes in, goes out, comes back again. And what I try to do is incorporate those things into what I'm doing, by showing my clients this is what's going on. Let me try it. If you don't like it, I'll take it, and I will take it off. But then what I do is I use charts too. I'll show them, I'll take and do a chart and show them this is the look I'm going for. Then I'll even draw on the back of my hand and say, this is the eye I want to do on you. And they say, okay, wow, I do like that, so let's try that. But don't do it as heavy on me. And then what keeps me working and keeps the clients coming back to me all the time is that I understand the aging process. As we age, the face tends to drop. And what you have to understand is that I understand the aesthetics of how the muscles work in the face. I work hard to keep my face tight because I've been doing face exercises since high school. So that's what keeps my face up. But when someone has a face that droops or the muscle starts drooping or you have double chins, as an artist, we have to know those tricks on how to lift the face up with color, how to lift the face up with all kinds of tricks of the trade with tapes and stuff like that, that people don't realize we're using, but they, especially when you're doing a photo shoot, you have all kinds of liberties that you can pull off. But if you're going out and you're speaking, for instance, in front of a college of students, you want your client to look their best with makeup without doing all those tricks. But you have to know what to do and how to do it and still incorporate the trends that are going on during that time.
I think I just wrote down something, and I wrote down number one. You're gonna have to do a class for us on the face exercises because I'm gonna need to start lifting real quick. And second thing is this idea of understanding the facial structure, what happens to the face, facial musculature, how to adjust and do things. Because one of the things that just came to me is part of being an iconic celebrity, an iconic woman, especially in the entertainment industry, sadly, more for women than men, is looking like you used to look, is maintaining that look over time.
Right.
And so if you, as the artist, understand the tips and the tricks and the techniques and the ways that you can have someone, when she looks in the mirror, feel like she wants to look, which is maybe what she looked like 10 years ago, or when she first started in entertainment. We as a society, unfairly want to see our favorite celebrities stay the same, right? We want to have them look the same for 20, 30 years.
Right.
And we all can criticize plastic surgery or say someone shouldn't do that or say that person aged so gracefully. It's really not very fair, is it? But you as the artist have an opportunity to say, I have ways of working that will help you feel your most beautiful and most iconic. And that's really important.
Yes, it is, Michael. And I'm happy to hear you say that because it's unfair that in this country here, mainly in this country here, the trend is to look your youngest as long as you possibly can. To not, they say, to age gracefully. I mean, like I said, it's been very hard for me to even say for myself, okay, moving into a new decade. And and for the longest time, I've been saying I'll be 40. For the longest time, I'll be turning 40. But then Oprah keeps saying, Derrick, you need to stand in your truth and let people know, because you've worked so hard to deserve everything that you're getting as far as in this industry. Um, but it's this society, this country here, that says that, it's okay for a man to get older and age gracefully with they can get a salt and pepper beard. They can, they can start losing their hair, and on a man is considered sexy. On a woman is considered aging. And that's so unfair, which is why a lot of the young um, female actors, actresses, singers start getting Botox and all kinds of things done as they get, when they're getting them younger and younger. I was talking to my dermatologist because, see, I have eczema, and so because I'm always stressing a lot. So I go to her, and I was asking her about Botox, and she said, Derrick, you don't need it yet. I'm like, but I want it. She said, for what? So I said, I just want to stay looking young. She said, you look young, you don't need anything. I said, well, answer this question. I'm always online, and I'm seeing these people that in their 20s and 30s getting Botox. Why are they getting it so young now? They said because what they're doing is they want to prevent the aging process. And the younger you get it, then you're slowing down the process of getting older. And what happens is that I've talked to a lot of my clients about maybe considering that if they want to remain looking a certain thing. And they said, no, I love aging. I love, and as long as I have a good artist that understands the aging process and can lift everything with colors and contouring and highlighting, and they know their contouring and highlighting, then I'm okay with the aging process. So that's what keeps me working, is that I understand the aging process. I understand how the face drops. I understand how to lift it with contour. I know what to do with contouring along the jawline and on the chin and with the eyes, and how to how to trim the brows to lift the eyes up, and knowing, so that comes with knowing your artistry. Because and what I do, I tell a lot of the makeup artists that are young that it's good to be able to be on the internet and to do your face. That's good. But what you need to do is you need to go out and get other clients, get other people, get your mother, your grandmother, get your neighbor, and work on them. Because I came up the old-fashioned way, where I worked in a department store when they were, where clients came to the counter, and that was my audition, that was my rehearsal, that was my way of learning skin tones, that was my way of learning face shapes, that was my way of learning how to make someone look their best with using makeup. Of course, I had to sell it in order to make my commission and in order to work, but that's how I learned how to get good at this, because you have to know that what you're doing on you does not always translate to someone else's face. You have to know that actual person's face. You got to look at their eyes and say, okay, are these person's eyes close together, or are they far apart? If they're far apart, how do I bring their eyes in? If they're close together, how do I bring them apart? If they're got a round face, how do I contour their face in order to make it look heart shaped? What I need to do to lift the brows, what I need to do in order to contour the nose. So all these are things that come with time, that come with working on lots of different people. And that's what keeps me in the industry working, because I understand as you get older, the face is going to do certain things as far as aging. And we have to know as artists how to lift those faces up in order for them to remain looking as young as they possibly can.
I think what's interesting, you brought up, younger artists, and you brought up some really rudimentary, essential skills, right?
Right,
Understanding if someone has, I have narrow set eyes, if you want to make them look wider, what do you do? These are really basic things, right? That every artist should
right,
know. But an artist who's learning how to do makeup by watching Instagram and
Right,
watching
and that's
YouTube
what
may
they're
not
doing
pick
now.
up all those things, right?
Yeah.
But there's also, I'm going to go back to it. I think it's really important. You, the stuff about understanding the face and how it affects, how the face is affected by time and age, and what you can do to help those things. Those aren't basic things. Those are exceptional skills. And I think that is why you work with so many iconic women. I have a kind of a fun question. Do you remember, you said you came from retail. Do you remember the first time you did someone that we would consider iconic? And how did that come about? And what was like, how did that feel?
My very first celebrity was Angela Winbush, and that some people may not understand or remember or even know who Angela Winbush is, but that was my very first celebrity I did, and that came about because I did makeup for this lady named Jamie Brown, who had Sister Sister magazine, and she introduced me to Angela Winbush, and then Angela went out and by word of mouth, my work came, a lot of my work came by word of mouth because someone would say, "Oh my God, I love what your how you look. Who did that?" And she said, "Oh, this guy named Derrick Rutledge. He did my makeup, you know." And so they said, "Oh my God, well, I need to try him." So then I worked with another iconic. I worked with Whitney Houston because what I did was I traveled with Dionne Warwick, but that's what friends are for. She had this tour called That's What Friends Are For. So
Mhm.
I traveled with Dionne Warwick and Guy Draper doing that tour, which got me to meet Whitney Houston. And from that, I got to meet other celebrities. So every time I would do one person's face, that would lead someone to talk about me to another person. So my name started getting spread around that way. And then I started doing hair books. I was killing the hair industry because I was doing at least 25, 30 people a day, models a day, and keeping my name in every hair book that was out there that was circulating. And so, which is probably why I got carpal tunnel in my shoulder right now because, constantly doing this all day long, just doing this. But I, um, I've been doing, like I said, this for a long time. And the looks, yes, I would say they're iconic. When I go back and look at the work that I've been doing over the years, I can say that I'm very proud of what I do. I can see a lot of I call them my godchildren. I love young people. They inspire me, they push me, they give me my drive. I can foresee a lot of them doing, being in this position that I'm in. Um, around the time that they turn my age, but I mean, for instance, one of my good, I call him my godson, and we're very close, and we talked last week, as a matter of fact, Kill Pretty, one of my godchildren. I love him to pieces, but there's so many of them out there that, that come to me for advice. A lot of the people I follow on Instagram are makeup artists and hairstylists and stylists all over the world. They say, "Can you please follow me? Can you please follow me? Can you look at my work?" I'll look at their work, and it's hard. It's hard to answer everybody, and I try to do it. But they say, can you critique me? Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to add more of. Tell me what I need to pull back on. So I try to do that with a lot of people out there, and which is why my manager was saying, "Derrick, you need to do something where you're actually talking to young people and explaining to them the process, where, where you are, what you're doing, how you did it, and what you did to remain where you are." Um, because when I was coming along, there was no social media. Well, I had to learn, where you can take and do a face, hit a button, and everything is softened. I came from the era where I had makeup artists, I had photographers that, instilled in me, hammered into me. The work has got to look airbrushed before they sit in front of the camera.
Mhm.
It's you got to know your color wheel. You got to know your gradations. You got to know that if I'm on a contour a cheek, that I'm gonna start with a brown and then go to a reddish brown to maybe a little bit of orange to a peach to an apricot to a yellow. You got to know, and those are the gradations that I learned how to do. I try to make my look my work looked airbrushed before they got in front of the camera. So because back then airbrushing was very expensive. Now all you do is you get in front of a computer, you press a bunch of buttons, and everything is softened and moved and done everything. Because I even have photographers that say to me, just throw the makeup on there and we'll clean up and clean and we'll fix it in post. I'm like, no, that wouldn't. I want my client when they turn around and look into that mirror, they look at themselves and they're uplifted. They're smiling. They're like, I look beautiful. With my brides, same way. You know, I mean, I do brides. Now I'm getting a lot of the brides that I did makeup for who have daughters that were their age are saying, can you please do the makeup for my daughter's wedding? And then they'll say, are you still the same price? You know, things like that. So that's what I said. I've been doing this a very long time, but it's understanding what the person's face requires as far as makeup and keeping it looking iconic and keeping it looking timeless, but yet understanding that the trends that work during that time can go into what's happening now if you keep the look iconic and keep it fresh.
I think that's great. And I want to, I have one more question for you before I let you go. We're going to wrap in just a minute, but I do want to say, I think there's something I took out of what you just said. Doing it correcting it in post is
Mhm.
not an iconic makeup. That's not an iconic makeup. It's iconic when what you described happens, when your client turns around and looks in the mirror and feels uplifted and feels beautiful. That is really important stuff. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to ask you about one more thing, if it's okay. You, speaking about iconic and perfected looks, you have a lash line called
Right,
Perfecting Your Presence.
right.
And it's beautiful. And they're iconic lashes. I love it. There's not, I love lashes. I think they're wonderful. And there's like little
Mhm.
wispy no lash lashes. And then there's like the big drag queen lashes. And I love them all. But yours are really perfecting your presence. They're beautiful. What made you come up with this line of these really they're iconic looks, iconic lashes?
Thank you, Michael, for that. Of course, you know what we're going through. We're in a pandemic. Myself included, was going through that. I was going stir crazy at home because I was on tour with Oprah from January 1st till the tour ended on March 8th. And then that following week was when everything in the country started shutting down. So had had the tour been an additional week, it would have been canceled. And
Mm,
so I'm not gonna lie, I sat around at home for 3 weeks, very depressed because my entire life for 30 years was spent on the road. I was somewhere in this around the country or around the world with a client somewhere. And to go from doing all of that to doing nothing, I went through this mental thing where I was very depressed. And I'm like, and then I started hearing from a lot of other makeup artists, and a lot of other people about how they were upset and they were going through their things. So I went online and started talking to people about uplifting, going back, using this time right now we're going through to pivot and figure out what it is that you want to do. What are your desires? What are the things you've always wanted to do and you never had an opportunity to do? And then when I started telling them that, I had to step back and go, well, Derrick, you're telling this to other people. You need to think about all those things that you wanted to do, all the things that your clients have asked you to come out with. And I start thinking about the fact that um, 15 years ago, I had a makeup line. 15 years ago, I had a skincare line. 15 years ago, I had a hair care line. I was dabbling in all because, and then I started bringing in makeup artists, hairstylists to work with me and traveling the country doing all of these trade shows and with all these products. Well, back then, because there was no social media, it was very hard because you had to pay, and you know this, Michael, you had to pay for convention floor space, you had to pay for tables, spaces cost, shipping the product costs, um, paying for your people to come in, paying for hotels, all of that cost. So I was making the money with the products, but I was just basically breaking even. So once everything basically sold out, then I just and also working the way I was working, I'm the figurehead, so I had to constantly be everywhere. And so what happened was when it started selling out, I said, okay, pick that back up later. Well, COVID was a perfect opportunity to pick that back up. And so, and then everybody was asking me because of my speeches I was having on the internet. Everyone was wanting to interview me about my career, and so then I started interviewing a lot of the celebrities I work with, and then television stations started to want to do interviews, and everyone was asking me the same question. When you start talking about this, and you're going back and you're talking about Aaliyah, you're talking about Beyonce when she was 16. How old are you? And so when I told him, he said, well, what are you doing to keep yourself looking so young? I said, well, I'm using a lot of my skincare products that I had out. So then everyone was saying, well, Derrick, why don't you give us some of the secrets that you have been doing and using and bring those back out? So I said, okay, the first thing I'm gonna bring out will be my skin serum that I've been using for, gosh, over 15 years and using every day and night on myself. I said, but that requires a lot more work than the lashes. And because we're required to wear masks, how do you make an impression? What's the first thing people are going to see when they see your face? Your
Right.
eyes.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, I'll come out with lashes. And so my campaign was, how do you make an impression with your eyes? And so what I did was I went through about 200 some pair of lashes and had to narrow them down. I had to think about 8 ethnicities and how different lashes grow on different women's eyes. You know, someone Indian has a certain type of a lash. Their lashes grow straight out. Asian women's lashes grow down, but they always try to lift them up. African American lashes are straight and curly. You know, so I had to know different lashes and how they grow. But then I also wanted to go from a day look to an evening look. So I had to keep all of those in mind. Then I had to talk to my manager and say, well, okay, how many can I safely come out with that I can get away with and still have a good line? Because someone had asked me about doing a line before, but they would only allow me to have 3 pair of lashes. I'm like, you can't do a line with 3 pair. So once I found out I could do my own line, I invested in myself and decided to come up with a lash line. I put together a collection of 3 day, 3 evening, sent them to Oprah, asked her to pick out one of each one for day that she liked, one for evening. And from that, I put together a nice kit that, you know, and then I submitted it to the old magazine staff. They submitted it to her, and then I became one of her favorite things. And what that did was that started putting me on a platform where I could actually start showcasing my work with my lash line. So then I had a creative director to come up with a website so I could sell the other lashes. And then because of what's going on with the pandemic, I said, okay, now it's time for me to not only make money from lashes, but also to give back, because we have to think about the other person. I'm one of those people, I have a huge heart. I love helping people. And so I said, okay, now it's time for me to give to families who are going hungry. But it's difficult to do what my church does and to find families that need money and need food. Let me give to an organization that I know is reputable and will make sure that people eat. So that's why I decided, okay, let's go on and give a portion of each sale of each lash to Feeding America so I can make sure that people are eating. So I want to do my part to make sure that I give back, because growing up in church, I've always been instilled from my mother, bless her heart, who's in heaven, that when you give, and Oprah says the same thing, when you give and you give freely of yourself and of what you do, it all comes back to you tenfold. So, like I said, I'm a person that loves to give and loves to give back. And then from that, I get blessed and get to meet people like you that instill and love who I am and have been loving me and loving my work and putting me out there and keeping me going and keeping me relevant for the next generation.
Well, my friend, I can't think of a better note to leave on, because that was not only amazing to hear you talk about the line and how you created it, and but also what it does that is good for others, and how you have created business and created a place in the industry where not only are you an incredibly talented artist who gives of themselves energetically, artistically, and technically wise, but you have found ways to give back to community. And you know, we at the Powder Group love giving back, and we love community. So when we talk about icons that you work on, I just want to say, as far as icons in the industry go, you are right up there for us. So thank you for being with us. You are
Thank
just
you, Michael.
absolutely a
Thank
love.
you from
So
my whole heart, Michael. You know, I'll
thank you for
we
being with
we
us.
we go back many, many years, and
We do.
I can honestly, excuse me, I can honestly say you have been a person that has always been in my corner, and thank you for that from my whole heart. I appreciate it, and thank you to everyone out there for tuning in and for having this where they can watch it over and over again and share it with other people.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's gonna.
and I would love for people to at least go to my Instagram site and follow me there if they can, which is Derrick, the number 4 MKUP, or Perfecting Your Presence, which is my other Instagram site.
Amazing. Thank you for being with us, my friend. I
Thank
adore
you,
you.
Michael.
Be safe out there in California. Thank you, everybody. This has been the Powder Group Conversations with Derrick Rutledge on Iconic Beauty. Our program today is sponsored by Scandinavia, Omnia, Cinema Secrets, Beekman 1802, Senna Cosmetics, and Muse Beauty Pro. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to
Thank
Derrick.
you.
We adore you. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.